Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Ernest Smith. Ernie, thank you so much for being here today.
Aaron, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
This is a story of a guy who fell behind on his recordings. That's me. I'm not perfect. And a guy who followed the clarion call of my father, he should rest in peace, availability, affability, and ability in that order. And so this episode is really brought to you by the grit and the hustle of Mr. Smith. And so we're going to jump right into it.
Perfect.
I always like to dig into something in the bio that inspired me or interests me, or I read, I said, hey, let me get back to that. So I usually do this in the middle of the episode, but I'm going to start right now. And then we'll discuss, hopefully this will be the stimulant for our conversation. And that is as follows. After walking away from the traditional 9 to 5, he, referring to you, Mr. Smith, purchased his first property at 22 and began house hacking long before it was the mainstream. That's fine. Didn't catch my attention. Promise. Whatever. If you weren't as successful as you are today, we wouldn't be talking about that part of your journey. But here we go. Moving 12 times in 6 years while mastering the fundamentals of real estate from the inside out. First question on the Keep Hustling podcast. Where on God's good earth does the drive to move 12 times in 6 years while mastering a craft, not because of a job, not because your job bounced around, not because of the military, none of that. Where does that come from? Take us back to what came before that, where you're sitting at the 9 to 5 and you say, I'm willing to do this and I'm going to chase it. And then all of a sudden it's like, hold on, it becomes moving a bunch of times, but I'm still going to do it and I'm not going to quit. So take us there.
Well, I think the original side of things, mind you that this is like early 2000s, so 2002. And so there's a lot of things that we have today, like the YouTube University and all that, to really learn a lot of these things. So I was very fortunate to pick a lot of this up during college. And so when I got into the houses, my very first house I ended up getting was was funded by the bank of mom and dad. And so they were my first partners. And then, so in that particular time,
I think Bezos had the same thing. So
yeah.
Your parents are basically living like Jeff Bezos' parents right now. Basically, is what you're saying.
Okay. It'd be nice to, right? But yeah.
I got it. I'm just making sure. I'm making sure that we have the right level of success measured here.
Yes, indeed. So so I got into doing the house hacking. So I was like, well, I needed a place to live because I just moved to Charlotte. A buddy of mine that I was staying with for a month and a half, he got a job, ended up having to move to Atlanta. And so I was like, man, what am I going to do now? I don't want to move back to, originally I'm from Ohio, so I didn't want to move back to Ohio. And so I was like, all right, I need to find a house. So I went through some foreclosures and everything else and ended up winning a house, lived in it for about 6 months, turned around. And I was like, all right, going to sell this thing and do it again and sell it again, do it again. And fortunately at that time, I'm single, didn't have any, dependents, didn't have any other worries except for myself. And, so it was just easy. So it was just kind of a product with a product, if you will.
I'll tell you, there's a few things that I love about that. The first is, and I think that it's super important because so many people, and I'm privileged to have spoken to literally 120 entrepreneurs before you doing this podcast, and never did I dream that I would get the inspiration that I've gotten from our guests. So many people wait, meaning the ability to say, there are people that take the leap, but if you took the leap when you were married with kids, had all these things to worry about, you could do it, but you couldn't master it probably with the speed you did, the agility that you did and things like that. And so it's just interesting to me that so many people say, I'm going to do it when I have X in the bank, when I have Y in the bank. It's so rare for someone to say, you know what the best time to do this is? When I can, if I need to, live in my car. Not that you did, but you know what I'm saying? Like in the worst case scenario, I can literally live in my car and live off the dollar menu. Not that you want to, but if you have a
ramen noodles, man, we were like this.
What? That's what I'm saying.
Ramen noodles. I mean, like, come on.
But what I'm saying to you is, like, I have a friend. His name is Daniel Sung. He's a great guy. He was one of the original people on this, one of the original guests on this episode. And he's an amazing guy, and he's built an amazing insurance business. And one of the things that he talks about is like when he took the leap, which I'm not knocking because it's been incredibly successful. He literally had 4 kids, 3 or 4 kids at the time, and they would go to the mall, play in the free playground area, and his kids would split 1 foot long for dinner, and he and his wife would eat the vegetables off of it. Now, that is exponentially more difficult physically, emotionally, and financially
Yeah.
than you getting a 6-inch sub, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Exactly.
So, but what made you want to do it? That's what I don't understand. I mean, so nobody does it. I've spoken to all these people, and everybody says, you know what, or they just get so fed up that they say, you know what, I have a partner in life who's willing to take the risk with me, and therefore I'm going to do it. Nobody says, now's the time. I can always come back to corporate America.
Yeah. Well, at that time, I was partnered in we did smoothies and juices and breakfast wraps. So we did kind of like a small kind of a juice company. And so our kind of goal with that was to get to 4 or 5 stores, potentially either start marketing it to start expanding, to start doing, or turn around and sell it, one or the other. Like we're going to either expand or sell. And so I think at that particular time, since we were kind of in growth mode, also there's opportunities to look at like other states and other cities. So I was kind of in that side, like just trying to be very fluid with just living stuff. And that was always, for me, it was just kind of a part of investing, is turn around and do a lot of fix and flip. So yeah, that's kind of really where my expertise came into, because I went to school for graphic design engineering. And then I got out of school, and I didn't want to sit in front of the computer for 8-10 hours a day. And I liked the creativity side. I liked the doing it with the houses that were dilapidated. I was okay with living in those kind of situations. And, because I knew I was turning the house around and I was going to sell it and I was going to make some profit off it. And, it's just kind of a part of the part, right?
What's more important, technical skill or real world execution? You talk about both, but I want to start with the one that you think is more important.
Theory is always good, but then there's the realization that theory only gets you so far. So I understood how to design a house. I understood what went into the house, like the floor joists and the studs and the drywall and this and the insulate. Like I understood the components that went into it. But part of me is like my father was a mechanic. And so he was like, you need to learn how to take things apart, and then you got to be able to figure out what's wrong with it, and then you got to be able to reassemble it. And so I kind of always had that mentality as well. It's like, on paper is great, because if you're building it from scratch, it's just a step process, 208 steps from the time you go from dirt to doorknobs, like it's there. When you're doing a rehab, it's really like, what does the house need? Then you have to kind of peel back the layers of the onion to get to that, what needs to happen. And then you have to start building it forward again. So realistically, there's like 50 steps in doing a rehab, but you have to be able to be like, all right, how far do I need to pull this back? What needs to happen? And then you start finishing it out. And then you just have to stay within budgets and scopes and all the other things with it. So
I think what you're getting at is part of it is a certain intellectual curiosity to your craft, meaning, yes, it is true that you probably could replace the kitchen, let's just say. Probably not the best use of your time.
Right.
So you might hire someone to do that. But being curious about the craft and learning, asking the question to the guy who put in the first kitchen or the second kitchen, and then asking the question of the electrician, it builds up that real world execution, builds up the skill. Meaning then it's like, oh, the next time, or hey, that doesn't make sense, or this is why it makes sense, or by the way, maybe the next time I look at a house and I think that it's going to be a quick and easy fix and flip, I start looking at X. People are scared of roofs, but I realize that roofs are
correct.
I know nothing about it. Yep. That's a simple fix. But by the way, if there are fuses in the electrical box, I'm in the insurance business, so this is the stuff that keeps me up at night. That's a disaster. And I'd rather replace a roof than have to all of a sudden start worrying about all this electric and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And so if you never got into the field and were curious about that technical skill part of things and seeing how it actually works, you would just say, okay, great. I buy a house, it costs me $100,000 to rehab, and then I buy it for $150, it costs me $100,000 to rehab. I sell for $400, right. Great, that's a profit. But not what made this complicated. Where can I make it better? What's the best thing the next time? How can I be more efficient the next time? And by the way, correct. How can I build this at a greater scale?
Correct. So, and I think throughout the process, what's the best way to say it? So throughout the process, like I was able to gain the real world knowledge of what went into doing the houses. Then I got to understand, like, talking to the trades, talking to the M&Ps, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing people. Like those are the ones that typically have to go out and get permits and stuff like that for the houses. Then you also have the general contractors, and then you have the realtors. And so each of those have their hands in your pot, right? And so then it's a matter of like, well, how, what value are they providing, or how do they do it, or how are they pricing things? So that way now I know that when I'm going to go look at a house and say, hey, I need those fuses that you're talking about. Yeah, we need to replace that panel. Well, how much is a panel? Well, it's $1,800. How much is doing the electrical? Well, that's another $7,000. This is X amount of dollars per square feet. So I need to know what that is going into the deal, because now when I'm negotiating on the buying side, I have to take in consideration all those things. And so that's really kind of where all of it together, like I understand the paper side of it, I understand what it goes into it, and then I understand the real world side of what it costs. And then also now I get to the point where instead of me asking for three different, go in and have three different subcontractors come in and quote me, or waiting for the estimates to come in, I just tell them, say, hey, look, this is the scope of work. This is what I need. This is how much I'm willing to pay. Can you do it or not do it?
And by the way, and if everyone comes in, if you speak to 10 people and all of them say no, then you have to reevaluate and say, hey, like what happened here?
Yeah. But I mean, my numbers are pretty close to where they need to be at. But I'm also regarding that extra profit that would be going out that they're trying to get a hold of. Right. So I'm safeguarding that. So eventually over the years, I went into, I think in 2014 is when I went and got my general contractor's license. And then in 2018, I went and got my realtor license because of hangups I was having at the time. Like I would pay general contractors, but then I was paying them like 20, 25, 30%. And I was having to chase them. I'm like, why am I on the job more than you are? Like, and I'm paying you. So I was like, you're human, I'm human. If you can do it, I can do it. And so that was just kind of the whole principle behind it all is just, I learned it and did it.
I'm going to read another line.
Do it.
I love your bio. There's so much in here. And I'm going to give a
preview. It's short. That's like it.
For all my friends, and especially my twin brother and my older brother, Ben, and my mother who listened to all the episodes, there is a Mrs. Ginsburg reference coming. My 5th grade English teacher, she's coming because something you read in here is directly to her, and she had a huge influence on me. But we're going to get there.
Uh-oh.
He believes success is built through relationships. I'm going to stop there. And accountability. I'm going to stop with the rest of the sentence because we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
What do people miss about relationships? I'm in a relationship business. I believe in it. But so many people don't. And so many people would say, by the way, in your business especially, mess everyone over, get the cheapest deal. The likelihood of you ever running into the same person again is 0, buyer side, seller side. But I feel it. I love this. This touched my heart. So
it's good.
I'd love to know your pick on it.
Network and really just the people of your connection it's your integrity. It's how you show up in life. It's what you do. It's your karma. It's all these things that kind of go into it, because when you really look at it, when I was growing up, my mom was always like, you need to treat people like you want to be treated. And I was like, well, all right, well, I don't want to treat people like bad because I don't want to be treated bad. Right. And I feel like, so it's like that was kind of the immediate entry into how just handling people. But, the years of doing sales, I did maybe sales for 15, 16 years. And during that time, I was dealing with all sorts of walks of life. I mean, I was dealing with people that were from Italy and from Greece and from, all these countries. So not only were you dealing with the person, but then you're also trying to understand how they are and how they interact, how they negotiate, where if you're talking with someone that was from maybe China or someplace like that, they're going to barter more. So they're like, hey, we'll buy X amount of this, but you got to give us this amount, right? So when you understood the culture and who,
and by the way, that's not disrespectful to you.
No,
right? That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's their jam. And by the way, if you tell them go F off, that would be disrespectful to them. Not that you should give them a better deal.
Yeah.
But that's what I think sometimes people, So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So it's just treat people like you want to be treated, and I want to be fair to them, and the same side as them be fair to me. But for nowadays, how it is now, I mean, who are we not talking to? We're talking to insurance people. We're talking to realtors. We're talking to attorneys. We're talking to paralegal. So many people. And so if you just do it with the right mindset, everybody's willing. Everybody's there. Everybody's going to help you out. And at the end of the day, they're going to speak your praise about, oh man, Ernie does this, Ernie does that. He always does this part. Now, granted, if you do something bad, obviously the words travel faster, but it's usually not the reputation that you want. So
I always go back to, when it comes to reputation and relationships, I early in my career, I was at a meeting where a mutual friend was introducing my father and me by association, but my father to another friend of his and he was hoping that we would be able to do a bunch of business together. And he said, I don't know how much money you're going to make, but I know that neither one of you will make me embarrassed or feel negative about the fact that I made this introduction for you. And I think that there's something so powerful about that, because in the world, I don't think that people realize how important relationships are until they don't have them, or until they ruin them,
Oh, yeah.
or until something happens. And by the way, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to do business with you. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to do, but people thinking that they can be on an island, or people thinking that they can crush people on the way to the top, eventually it's going to come back and it's going to hurt them. And believe me, I'm a parent of 5. And it hasn't. And my mother, I complain to her all the time. I complain to her all the time in our business. Like, but when is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, I really want to see this bad guy fail. And I'm not usually like, I'm not a negative, vindictive guy, but like, you literally lied to the insurance company in my business. You stole an account from me that you didn't win legit. If you win legit, win it legit. And like, I really just want to see you fail. And then they never do, so it makes me feel bad. But that actually gets to my next.
It's not always instant karma. I just had a partnership. I just had a partnership on a deal. And these people, they're in the 8-figure category stuff, right? So it's like, hey, I brought them into an opportunity to where we could end up, I could end up getting them 20% return on their money or more. And so they're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then at the end of the day, when the money shows up, it's like people start doing stupid shit. And it's like, just be ethical. Like, just do like we're talking about what it is. We're doing it 50-50. And this is on a multi-million-dollar house deal. And it's just like, they were just like, no, we're going to strong arm you and do whatever. And it's like, okay,
Karma's coming.
Yeah.
Which gets me to Mrs. Ginsburg. And then I promise you I'm going to read the line from your bio, but you know exactly where I'm going the second I say this. Mrs. Ginsburg, 5th grade, all-time best quote. Character is when no one's looking. Yeah. Now let me read the rest of the sentence. He believes success is built through relationships, accountability, and doing things the right way. This should be bolded, especially when no one is watching.
Absolutely.
I agree. It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you say to the ignorant who believe that doesn't matter when no one's looking?
Well, I mean, that's your part of your integrity. That's, at the end of the day is, did I do it the fastest? Did I do it the accurate? Did I do it? No. I mean, I showed up. I told you I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish it. It's kind of I might have lost money on something, or maybe I lost less money. Maybe I made less money than my partner, but I'm going to do what is needed to be done. And I can't look at it as that I might sacrifice now, but, at the end of the day, it's like, I know that I'm in a better place. I know that I can sleep better at night. Like I'm not out to screw people. It's just a matter of like, just showing up, doing what I say I'm going to do, and really, if I look at it simply, when you look at Ernest, if you put an A in there, Ernest, right, is, just being truthful, being honest, and being earnest about what it is that you're doing. And it's really kind of goes into your, the name. So it's like I stand by it. That's, the old school handshake. This is what I'm going to do. This is what we agreed to, like I still wholeheartedly believe in that.
I just read another line. This bio is so good. This bio is so good. You're my kind of guy, and I promise you, for those who are watching, I don't know if you can see, but we're gonna get to a secret, a little teaser that Ernest dropped into his feature here. But I just totally skipped it over. I can't believe it. Through action, discipline, and relentless learning.
Absolutely.
It's 2026. Most of the people that are coming into the workforce now and will be in the next 5 years are laughing at Ernest Smith saying relentless learning.
Always.
Prove them wrong. Go.
I mean, no, at the end of the day, that's it. It's like, if you stop learning, you stop growing, and then you're just going to exist. And I mean, with even things like AI, I mean, just in the last year, and AI has been around for a very long time, but really with the chat GPTs and stuff, all these white label, these programs over the last year and a half have been aggressive. So it's like, if you're not learning or starting to learn and just continuously gaining knowledge, then you're falling behind. I mean, it's adamant. I mean, like, you just have to stay continually learning, both in, I think, spiritually, both as, a husband, or the wife, or, trying to teach your kids, and, they're having to go through all this stuff that we didn't have to go through. I mean, God forbid, if I would have had a cell phone back in the high school that had cameras on and everything else, we may not be sitting here talking, but
I tell my 14-year-old all the time, I had a beeper, and you know what a beeper was dependent upon? A phone.
have fun.
So therefore, I could see the beeper, but I could ignore it. When I call you, you better answer that phone. You cannot say the words,
Yeah.
I couldn't find a phone. She's like, I honestly was hoping she didn't, but I was really hoping. And I think one of my nephews, he's a wise guy, he's gonna have, if my brother ever says to them, so get me a beeper. Like, I'll take a beeper.
It's like, now, do they even?
Do you remember the days of beepers? And you would like send the number, and it would like be the word.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, it's so much fun.
gotta send it upside
We
down
totally
and-
digressed.
Yeah.
What did we miss? What did we miss about your hustle? What did we miss?
The biggest thing, so in the hustle was always, and I kind of dropped it in with the name, the AY. So
Oh, sorry. Yes. So for those who are not watching, or if this doesn't make it into the edit, it says, and I asked before, and I promised we would get it. It says under his name, his little name tag says Ernest Smith. Maybe we'll put the guys. We're gonna make sure that Ernest. We're gonna make sure that this is in the thing. Ernest Smith dash capital A period capital Y period exclamation.
So the AY stands for Amaze Yourself, and as simple as that is, it's like, okay, well, what does that really mean? And so it's going to be different for everybody, but the Amaze Yourself really, and I think when we really look at this, it's doing one thing every week that you maybe are afraid to do or that you want to do. And it's really it's all about taking action and just moving the needle forward. And like, say, for instance, so during my younger years, I was probably in my early 20s. I had skydived, went twice.
Psycho.
But I tell you what, that sidebar on it, when you're up there and you're, however many thousands of feet up in the air, and it's you, parachute, and like the scenery around you, I'm talking like it. Yes, it's the most adrenaline rush, but it's like, I think at that moment in time, it's the one single point that just shows you that life is that simple. It's here and it could be gone, just like that. And it's like,
you're getting super philosophical here. I have a question. It didn't happen, okay? But if you were to bungee jump or skydive, this is a total digression, but my ADD just kicked in, and one of them is going to go wrong. Would you rather a bungee jumping accident or a skydiving accident?
Probably bungee.
Yes. Why? I'm with you. Go. Why?
Because I'm closer to the ground.
It's going to happen quick. The reason why I don't want to go skydiving is the thought of spending 3 minutes contemplating my death. That's why I don't want to go skydiving. That's it. The only reason. That's it. If something goes wrong, I got to know up to the millisecond before it happens that I'm going to crash. Bungee jumping, you'd have no idea.
Well, true. So, I mean, you're lower to the ground. It's going to happen a little faster, kind of deal. But so when I went skydiving, they had, at that particular time, they had options where you could either go static line, where you're actually harnessing yourself to the plane and the plane will actually pull your chute out for you and you're going by yourself. Or you go static, which is, not static, but you can actually tandem with someone else. And my thing of it is like, I'm kind of the control freak, if you will. I just like, if I'm going to die at this particular point, I'm going to die.
I don't want to be arguing. I don't want to be screaming at that guy behind me that there's got to be some sort of way out.
But but on the same side, this is also the person that is the expert. He's jumped multiple 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 times or whatever else. So when you got someone like that behind you as a coach, that's going to give you the comments about it, like, hey, this is under control. He's been in these situations before. He knows how to handle them. He's not dead. Like, there's a lot of good things that go about, that as a coach. And so that's what I'm saying is like, in those situations early on with the Amaze Yourself, it was really about, I need to step out. I needed to create momentum. And so like for me, it was about, hey, I'm going to go skydive. I'm going to go whitewater rafting. I'm going to learn how to go rollerblading. I'm going to play ice hockey. Like, just, it was a challenge for myself, but it gave me the opportunity to learn a lot of things. Because in my mind, I was like, when the time comes and I have a family, I want to be able to have the ability to introduce them to these things to where they can sit there and make decisions in their life about what they like and don't like and what they want to move forward with, what they're really connected to. Like, I grew up water skiing, and I started water skiing when I was 6 years old, or going on 6. And I loved water skiing for years and years and years and years. And it's still something I love doing today. And even though I'm not, even close to that side of life, but it was just one of those things that was always encouraging to me. So I went to a seminar, and the speaker that was there, he kind of had the AY written up on the board. So it's really kind of a throwback to him. And he had the AY written on the board. And it's like, I was like, man, it resonated with me because I already kind of lived my life like that. Like I was always pushing myself to do something more. But even now, as it's about business, it's about life, it's about family, it's about these other components, it just takes on a different meaning now. And so there's so many things that you just like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. You just procrastinate. Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. Tomorrow happens, the next day happens, a week later happens, 6 months happens, the next thing you know, you're like, I didn't do that. Like, and then next thing you know, like a year goes by, 2 years, and it's just like you're kind of stuck in this rut of sameness. And it's like, well, if you want that in your life, sure. But I think a lot of people always strive for more, but then they just get lost in just this blah stuff. So I just like, AY is this kind of go amaze yourself.
Do you know who Jesse Seltzer is? He's one of my dream guests on this podcast. He's the guy who wrote Go New York, Go New York, Go. He's a great guy. He's a good guy. Social media. He wrote. He's a big skier. He has the big ass calendar, things like that.
Yeah.
The sauna guy.
Yep.
He has a thing. He introduced me to this thing. His media introduced me called the Misogi. Do you know what Misogi is?
Yep. Sobi.
It's
the drink.
Misogi.
Oh, Misogi.
Misogi is I think it's Japanese, and basically the idea is that you have a certain number of years to live the rest of your life. And every single year you should do something that will amaze yourself. Do something crazy. Do something wild. And that could be, by the way, saying I want to run a marathon. You're going to train and you're going to run the marathon. That could be I want to climb Everest. That could be I want to learn how to ski. And every year you just choose one thing. You don't, because if you fill the calendar and you filled it, then you're never going to get there. But if you do it, so you realize if you have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years left, imagine the amazing things that you never would have attempted if you said you wanted to do 20 of them.
Yeah.
If you said you wanted to skydive, climb Everest, and run a marathon, you'd never be able to do that in a year. But if you said this year, I'm going to train for a marathon, you could do it.
Absolutely.
And so on and so forth. So I love that. We're running out of time. You said you believe in karma. I believe in karma. I believe in fate. You inspired me today. There's a little shadow in the video, but that's okay. We're trying out a new studio, and you came on, you hustled, you made it happen. So I really appreciate you. As you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast. We ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them in their hustle. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and say thank you again, Ernest Smith, AY, Amaze Yourself. You amazed me. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you. The motivational quote, that's a good one. I think I'm not really a big quote type of person, if you will. I think for me, motivation, when I go to a lot of these, I go to a lot of seminars, and in which case, there's a lot of great people, that I've had, like even on my podcast and stuff. One of the ones that like I had on there was Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, was on it. And so there's a lot of quotes that they have, and there's a lot of things that just resonates with them, but it's more of their story. It's not so much about the one-liner punchline about what happens. I think, for me, I would say the largest one for me would be amaze yourself. Do one thing every week, that you're either afraid of or two that you want to do. And that's really the biggest quote. And I unfortunately, I couldn't remember the professor that ended up saying it, but that's always been kind of the biggest quote for me. I have other ones, like in order to become the number one, in order to become the 1%, you must do what the other 99% doesn't.
I love that. But I love Amaze Yourself. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you again. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.